$1 billion budget may soon get slashed, and some say it may even be on the next federal hit list. In tonight's Bay Area Focus, naturalist Brian Hackney begins an in-depth series looking at the future of the lab.
Zero time.
Lawrence Livermore Laboratory was created for the Cold War world. Its mission, build the perfect nuclear weapon. But now the Cold War is ended, and some say Livermore is a lab without a mission.
If we were to not be supported on any defense-related activities, that would mean significant cuts for us.
The laboratory has several other high-profile, high-tech programs: the world's largest fusion laser, the world's fastest chromosome sorter, the world's lightest construction material. But defense is still the reason that Livermore Lab is a lab.
About 40% of our laboratory budget is nuclear weapons right now, and about 20% of it is other defense, non-nuclear defense activities.
But that may soon change. A new bill by Congressman George Brown proposes redirecting one or more of the departmental laboratories to civilian missions. His recommendation: all defense work should be taken away from Livermore and consolidated at Los Alamos. Livermore Lab management disagrees.
I don't believe thoughtful people will really take seriously the idea that Livermore should never be involved in defense-oriented research.
Michael Clausen at the Center for Economic Conversion is studying the lab's conversion and says the resistance to moving away from defense comes not from the laboratory scientists, but from top lab management.
That's what they know how to do. That's what they believe in. They're obviously going to continue to promote that as long as there's a possibility of doing that.
Livermore Lab physicist Ray Kidder agrees.
If it could be replaced with another single mission, I think that would solve the problem of the lab. If that can't happen, then the alternative, as I've mentioned, is for the lab to desperately try to hang on to the mission it had, and that seems to be what their policy is at the moment.
The laboratory's budget is over $1 billion this year. 2/3 of that budget is for defense. So what are they going to spend it on? Ironically, they'll spend that money on dismantling the very nuclear weapons that they helped to create.
Build down of the stockpile. In fact, that's a very, very important element that we're trying to do.
When it comes to nuclear weapons development, that's what we did. When it comes to nuclear weapons downsizing, that's what we're going to do, and our employees will stick it out until it's done.
Although lab management emphasizes dismantling, the current budget is still relatively small. Only $3 to $5 million for this year. Most dismantlement is currently done by other labs.
That certainly is not a major source of employment for the lab. The lab is, I don't think, really necessary at all, other than as an advisory capacity in this whole business of weapons dismantlement. It takes place in Texas. It doesn't take place around here. 3, 2, 1.
The lab is also pushing for a resumption of limited nuclear testing to ensure stockpile safety, even though all countries are honoring a voluntary ban.
Flat out, it isn't true. You don't need to continue testing to maintain a reliable stockpile. That issue, I think, in the minds of most people in Washington has been settled.
There's a debate within the laboratory. The people who've grown up in the nuclear weapons have a few more experiments they'd like to do. They have reasons of their own for wanting to do them. The people on the other side of the coin say that we've done enough. Our stockpile is being downsized. Why do any more testing?
And citing Saddam Hussein and the instability of nuclear weapons in Russia, lab management is again asking to create and test new weapons.
We went through the fiscal year 1994 Department of Energy budget request, and we found 4 new nuclear weapon systems that they're asking for money for next year.
The lab also has over $3 million this year devoted to developing plutonium triggers for nuclear weapons. So far, they made enough for 4 bombs, but say they're not going into full-scale production. Others say such production should stop completely.
We believe that the Department of Energy should have to justify doing any plutonium work in a post-Cold War environment here in Livermore on an earthquake fault in a populated area.
Yeah, this is not the place, I think, to do that kind of work right in the middle of a growing population.
Events like the World Trade Center bombing may offer Livermore its best chance to maintain a role in defense.
This tells us what the compounds are.
This is their new state-of-the-art forensic lab. They hope to become the nation's specialist in both anti-terrorism and weapons proliferation detection. Livermore scientists have created special software to identify molecular fragments of chemicals.
We'll be able to use our technology to analyze those samples and look for high explosives and to actually fingerprint chemicals in the environment.
Hedging their bets against possible conversion, lab scientists emphasize this is a dual-use forensic lab.
We can look at cells, we can look at residue powders, drug analysis, poisons, gunshot residues. We can virtually do anything that a normal forensic lab would do, except we have more technologies to look at it even more specifically.
In fact, the whole future of the laboratory may depend on its ability to find dual uses for all of its defense technology, or maybe even to find a whole new mission entirely. But we'll talk about that more tomorrow night. For now, in Lawrence, Livermore, I'm Brian Hackney, Channel 7 News.
And Dan Lovett is on deck next with sports, including